Hey guys, so whenever we get any new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate information, such as Terry Bogard getting released and having that 45-minute long video just dedicated to all the stuff he was going to bring with him, I like to kind of take a couple days and reassess where we're at with speculation. So which leaks survived, which rumors are popping up, which theories maybe popped up with new information that we got, stuff like that, and just kind of reassess where we're at with speculation. So that's what today's video is going to be. It's just going to be kind of looking at all the stuff that's been going on with speculation and getting us kind of back on track for what's going on after Terry's release. Now, I'll be totally blunt and forward about this right off the bat. Smash speculation right now is honestly a little messy. It seems like we keep getting pretty good leaks, and then they kind of get shot down, and we jump to the next one, and then that gets shot down, and we jump to the next one, and we're kind of just jumping from leak to character, with nothing really sticking for sure. They kind of seem really solid for a little while, and then they fall apart, and we jump to the next thing, and we have so many characters that are possible for the final DLC Fighters Pass character. I really have no idea who to back at this point. So I'll say that right from the start here. I'm not really backing any particular character for DLC 5 yet. We have a bunch of potentially decent leaks. Leaks that could actually be real, and these characters may actually be in Smash, but I have no idea which one of these might show up as DLC 5, or if any of these leaks are right for DLC 5. Some of them might be right for further DLC characters. Maybe none of them are actually DLC 5. I honestly have no idea. So until I hear some more solid, concrete, definitive leaks for who DLC 5 is, I'm not going to back anybody. Okay, so let's talk about a very solid seeming, potentially real leak that has recently taken some blows to its likeliness. So that is the Mii costume leak. This leak has a Mallow Mii costume and a Cacodemon Mii costume. So a lot of people were thinking that this could point to Doomguy and Geno potentially getting into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This leak actually had video of the Mii costumes in action, and since it was considered pretty difficult to actually mod Mii costumes, specifically the Mii hats, people were thinking this one could potentially be legitimate. The leak started off with a picture of the Mii costumes and Ken doing the thumbs up taunt, which was very, very similar to the very real Ken leak we got before Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out initially. Getting Doomguy and Geno in Smash is something a lot of fans really want, including myself, so this one had a lot of people pretty excited. The idea of getting Doomguy as the final DLC fighter, and then Geno as either the first character after the Fighters Pass, or potentially as like a bonus, sort of like Piranha Plant with the base game, seemed fairly likely after this leak showed up. I did a video pointing out a lot of things about this leak that made it seem very real, and also we've gotten even more information that makes it seem, honestly, even more real. Over on Smashboards, Cool0210 wrote, "Okay, one more. Can anyone actually get the camera to be at this angle without mods? Folks are saying it's impossible to get the camera at this angle." They then go on to say, and that the camera goes more like this. And then they show what is a pretty good recreation of the shot in the Mii costume leaked image, but it's not exact. The camera angle is different. They say this is at the start of the game where the platform is still on the ground. Note, since the timer and stock icons and other UI are still there, it means it has to be using a dev build camera, I guess, since it would seem unlikely a modder would just make the camera slightly different. They go on to write, the idea being that the Ken leak was also from an angle you can't produce in-game, with the UI there. People tried to reproduce it, and even if you get as close as you can, the camera angle is still higher, on top of the UI still being there. And then they show a picture of the Ken leak, and someone trying to recreate the Ken leak. As you can see, the camera angle in the Ken leak is different from what you can produce in the actual game itself. Since we pretty much know that the Ken leak was in fact from a dev build of the game, and the Mii costume leak also has a strange camera angle that we can't reproduce, it's very possible the Mii costume leak is coming from a dev build the same way the Ken leak was. Over on my Discord, Intel also pointed this out to me. At PapaGenos, I mentioned how the characters in both Ken leaks might be CPUs turned on in the dev mode, and also how there seems to be an option to perfect frame taunt all characters. In both the Ken leak and the Mii costume leak, all the characters are taunting at seemingly the exact same time, so it's possible that a taunt button that hits all of the characters at once could be in dev mode. It's also possible somebody just pressed it all on the same controllers. Who knows, but it's a possibility here. Over on Twitter, at GaruloKFC wrote this, leaks, LMAO, and then they posted a picture of what looked just like the Cacodemon Mii costume. When people initially saw this image, they thought that this person was the one who made the Mii costume leak. However, upon closer inspection, the Cacodemon Mii hat that they created is different from the one we see in the Mii costume leak. As you can see, there's some slight differences. The amount of space in the mouth of the Cacodemon Mii costume, and also the way the teeth are on the bottom and stuff, it is slightly different. And so we know these are not the same Mii hats. This is also just an image, which is much easier to make than a full video leak of a Mii hat costume in action. Also over on Twitter, Legendary The Rage MC made a whole video of a Mii costume in action. Push Dustin wrote, this shows that modding Mii hats is possible. Legendary The Rage MC wrote, just a note, this does not mean that the leak is fake. This video proves that it's possible to mod Mii fighters, but the hard part was not the model, but rather the texture. I can't compress the texture due to it being over the compression size, so I posterized it to make it lower. Essentially stating that it is indeed actually pretty difficult to do what we're seeing in the Mii costume leak. So basically, after a few days, we had some people come out and show how it is possible to mod Mii costumes and potentially have faked the video footage we saw. However, there's also some really interesting stuff going on with the particular Mii costumes we saw. No one's been able to one-to-one create it, and there's some small minor details that make it really seem like it's actually coming from a dev mode build and potentially the same leaker who leaked Ken to us before the base game released. Another really interesting thing about the Mii costume leak is that it has the Malo Mii costume on there. And the Malo Mii costume was also on this Mii costume list from back in July that correctly guessed Gomon, Rocket Grunts, and a few other Mii costumes. So potentially one of two things is happening here. Either the Mii costume leak is totally real and the Malo Mii costume that was on the list from July predicted that as well, and we're going to see that eventually, or someone saw the Mii costume list from July and decided to fake a Malo Mii costume and have it link with that old Mii list so it gains some credibility. The person who showed me that Mii costume list was saying that their source was saying Crash would be DLC Fighter number 5. However, then Sabi's source said that it wasn't going to be Crash Bandicoot for DLC 5. And also, the source is a little spotty. Honestly, they get some things totally right. They definitely have real sources and real leaks, but their information is always kind of spotty. It feels like about 50% of the stuff they tell me actually comes true, so I'm always a little wary of that, so I'm not going to back Crash too hard here, considering that. Also, I can't be totally certain if the source of theirs that told them Crash is actually getting the same information about the Mii costumes from the same source as where Crash is coming from, so I'm not totally certain if those two leaks are actually linked together or not. So speaking of Sabi's source, who said the 5th Fighters Pass DLC character would not be Crash Bandicoot, they've also come out and said something that goes against this Mii costume leak. And this was the first real hit against it that seemed to actually kind of take it down from being potentially real. So over on Twitter, Sabi wrote this, alright, so clarification on that Mii leak. The source who told me that Fighter Pass 5 isn't Crash or Ryu Hayabusa has told me that if those Miis are real, they aren't related to who Fighter Pass 5 is. Essentially deconfirming Geno or Doomguy for the Fighter Pass 5 spot. This source of Sabi's is the one who told us about Terry. They're also a very reputable person and a leaker that I trust above most of the other leaks and stuff that are going on here. So I do think that overall they're probably correct. Fighter Pass number 5 is probably not Doomguy, Geno, Crash, or Ryu Hayabusa. So this is what I meant when I said that leaks right now are kind of messy. Honestly, for a while there, I thought Ryu Hayabusa was going to be our 5th DLC character, until Sabi's source shot that one down. And then after the Mii costume leak came out, I thought Doomguy was going to be the 5th DLC character, until Sabi's source shot that one down. So now I'm kind of lost for who I think the 5th DLC character will be. I will say that despite having a lot of faith in Sabi's source, it's possible they just heard a character and they don't actually know the order for sure. This has happened before with other leakers. Vergeben thought that the first DLC character was going to be a square rep. It wasn't. I thought that Banjo was going to be in base game. He wasn't. We had I Am Shifty saying Ryo Hayabusa was going to be the 4th DLC character. We got Terry Bogard, but still potentially Ryo Hayabusa could be coming later on. Maybe that's the 5th DLC character. Maybe Sabi's source is wrong about the order. It's really hard to know the order because you'd have to have connections with basically every single company that's out there. If you just hear a character is coming to Smash, you're probably going to think it's going to be the next character, but that might not necessarily be the case. You might just not have any connections to the company that's actually getting the next spot. So again, I trust Sabi's source above most other leakers, besides maybe VR Plant, but they're not infallible. They could be wrong here, so potentially one of these other leaks is true and happening for the 5th DLC character. It's also possible these other leaks are true, but they're happening later on. Maybe we're getting Doomguy and Geno later, the Mii costumes are real. Maybe we're getting Ryo Hayabusa, but later and Brew was right and I Am Shifty was right. We don't really know for sure the order. It's really hard to get that. It's really hard to know which of these leaks are real, which of them are fake right now. So yeah, things are a little messy. Vergeben also weighed in on this after Sabi made their tweet, and Vergeben said, "It's not Doomguy or Geno. It's not Ryo Hayabusa or Scorpion either." But I already said that. And that's true. Vergeben did say that Scorpion wouldn't be the 5th DLC character either, though honestly deconfirming a Mortal Kombat character when Mortal Kombat isn't even allowed in Japan is pretty easy. Okay, so now that we're all up to date with those leaks, let's talk about what we actually learned from the new Terry video. So one thing we learned was posted over on Twitter by Push Dustin. It says, "It seems Terry's internal codename is Dolly." I'm not totally sure what this is a reference to. It could be because Terry's stage from his own games is actually on a train, and there's like train dollies, like that's a thing, a train dolly. Over on my Discord, Hot Wings of Destiny wrote, "Bogard do Terry," not exactly rocket science. It's not really swapped around. Japanese has the family name first and given name second, so it's natural for it to be written that way in Japan. And of course, L's and R's are interchangeable in Japanese, so Dory and Terry are actually pretty close. Honestly, if I had heard that one of the characters' codenames was going to be Dolly, I would have really thought that could have been pointing to Geno, since he's actually a doll. Speaking of Geno, here's a reaching theory from Jurion. They say, "the biggest reach, LOL." And then they point out that the background for Terry when he was first revealed has changed from what we saw in the 45-minute long video. It went from a deep blue to this kind of orangish yellow, and that does sort of fit the blue from Mario RPG and the cover of the Doom game. This, of course, would go along with the Mii costume video, but honestly, like they say, it's a big reach. Another bizarre reaching Geno theory has to do with these new arena messages. One of them says, "Hear the roar of my full force neutral attack." Over on Twitter, @Cafe Cold Brew wrote, "Okay, wait. I can't be the only one who noticed this. ... Geno confirmed?" Okay, so why does that strange message confirm Geno? Well, because there's actually a really obscure quote from Geno from an old video game magazine that sounds a lot like that message. There you go. Speaking of stuff that isn't appropriate for Super Smash Bros., we also didn't get Mai in the background of Terry's stage, which is kind of strange because we do have Bayonetta as a playable character, so just what exactly is our parameters for who can get into Smash and who can't? Anyway, one thing we did learn about characters that can get into Smash is that they don't necessarily have to be recognizable. Sakurai said, "It's more important that a character is fun to play, not just recognizable." So this gives a lot of hope to more niche and less well-known, more obscure characters, like Geno, or potentially Reimu. Another thing we found out is that Terry came with 50 tracks, which is an absurd amount of characters for a DLC character to get, something we hadn't seen yet. We had a potential Reimu leak, or at least a Toho leak, that said that a lot of Toho music was going to be coming to Super Smash Bros., but the list of music seemed really, really long. Over on Discord, Pancakes wrote, about Reimu, ... I thought the leak with like 20 remixes was a bit much because of that many remixes. However, Terry has 50 songs and like 15 remixes, so possible? And yeah, I'd say so. Sakurai is saying that a character being obscure doesn't really matter, and we now know that a lot of music tracks can get in with a character, so having a lot of remixed Toho music could mean Reimu could potentially be coming here. Another thing we saw in the Terry video was the Mii costumes that came with Terry. We got some old ones like Akira, and honestly they're all fighting game costumes. And there's one fighting game character from Super Smash Bros. 4 list of Mii costumes that's a glaring omission here. That character is Heihachi from Tekken. It's really strange with all these fighting game Mii costumes packed alongside Terry that we didn't get Heihachi alongside Akira and Jackie as all the fighting game characters' Mii costumes from Super Smash Bros. 4. Heihachi is in Smash as Pac-Man's taunt, but you'd think a big game series like Tekken would at least get a Mii costume when all these other fighting games got into Smash alongside Terry. Now, Heihachi isn't the only Bandai Namco character who had a Mii costume in Smash 4 who hasn't returned yet. We also didn't get the Lloyd Mii costume from Tales of Symphonia. So since we haven't gotten any of the Bandai Namco Mii costumes that we had in Super Smash Bros. 4, it's very possible that the 5th DLC character could be a Bandai Namco character, potentially Heihachi or Lloyd being upgraded from a Mii costume to a playable fighter. Again, it's very strange to omit the Heihachi Mii costume from the Terry list of Mii costumes when he's a fighting game character and would have worked perfectly there. It feels like for some reason they're holding back the Namco Mii costumes. Again, potentially because the 5th DLC character could be coming from Namco. A little while back, Gamatsu wrote this over on Twitter. Bandai Namco recently filed these trademarks, one for the Tales of series logo and the other for what looks like a save icon. We were speculating that these icons would fit pretty well into Super Smash Bros. If, say, a Tales of character such as Lloyd was getting into Smash. Daiguren wrote this, interesting development on the Tales situation. There was a Tales of event just recently, and they did not use the Tales of series logo that was recently trademarked. Plot thickens, in my opinion. You don't trademark a logo and then not use it, because that would mean you wasted money for nothing. So if this wasn't for an event about Tales of series, I think the logo could be used for the Mii costume section of Lloyd, and his reveal as playable character would use the Tales of Symphonia logo specifically, kinda like Hero used for Dragon Quest XI's logo, and the Miis were just Dragon Quest General logo. Or some type of big Tales of series announcement that hasn't happened yet, maybe at the Game Awards if it's not Smash related. Over on Smashboards, Ness Attic wrote, considering Arise is already known, it has to be either a port, a non-mothership game, or Smash, and only one of those would require that elaborate generic icon. Looking at all that, I would say that Lloyd does seem to have a pretty good shot at our 5th DLC character here. Honestly, after E3, my guess at the final 2 characters before we knew about Terry was Jill Valentine and Lloyd Irving. Now let's talk about an interesting theory that's shown up after Terry's release involving the Ice Climbers. Now, I'm no expert on anything to do with data or any kind of coding stuff with Smash, so this is just what I'm hearing. If this ends up being just false and just a rumor that's been spread around, forgive me. Over on Smashboards, Andre123 wrote, a modder noticed that the slots for Solo Nana and Solo Popo were removed in 6.0.0. It seems like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate team were working on a new DLC fighter that uses the tag team mechanic from the Ice Climbers, and testing out the separate solo versions of the new tag team fighter, and then later got rid of all separate solo versions of them. I also heard that Terry's Buster Wolf was having some problems when attacking the Ice Climbers. This actually got patched out in 6.1.0. Spunk Gamer wrote, the Ice Climbers glitch is just a glitch that comes from jank interactions with Buster Wolf, not a hint to a tag team character. Green wrote, I have a theory. So it was found that Ice Climbers was used as a base for a new fighter because one of their moves clashes with Terry's side B. The last time this happened was when Mii Sword Fighter and Duck Hunt's moves clashed, leading to Hero and Banjo respectively. So by this logic, it's not just Ice Climbers who's being used as a base for a new fighter, both Ice Climbers and Terry. Now for me personally, I feel like it's a little bit of a leap here to say that this is definitely being used as a base for a new fighter. Maybe. That might be what's going on. It could also just be something strange that was going on with Terry's coding when clashing with the Ice Climbers. So I don't know for sure if a tag team character is really what this is pointing to, but hey, it's fun to speculate, so let's talk about it. I was just talking about Bandai Namco characters, specifically Heihachi and Lloyd, and honestly both of them could end up being a duo character. You could do Lloyd and Colette as some sort of duo character, or you could do Heihachi representing Tekken Tag, which was honestly my favorite game in the series, so having a duo character showing 2 Tekken characters somehow could be pretty cool. Grayson also wrote me this. Digimon Cyber Sleuth was released for Nintendo Switch some time ago. It's a game from Bandai Namco, obviously. In that game we have a duo of 2 Digimon, Agumon and Gabumon, and they do 100% of everything together. They fuse together for their final form as well. So there's another potential Bandai Namco character who could become playable and could work for this duo character thing, if that theory is true or not. It's also possible we could get some other duo characters, something like Bubble Bobble or Astral Chain, something like that. Another series that could work pretty well for a duo character would be Resident Evil. I could see us getting two characters that work together. It would be kind of cool to represent the games that way. I've been thinking Jill Valentine could work pretty well for Resident Evil rep for a while now, but considering we got Proto Man and Zero as Mii costumes alongside Banjo, and they weren't held off for the final DLC character, whereas we haven't gotten any of the Bandai Namco Mii costumes, if I look at it that way, I do think it's more likely to get a Namco character, or even someone out of the blue like Hayabusa or Doomguy, instead of a Capcom character, because I don't see any reason why you'd hold off those Mii costumes. Speaking of Jill Valentine, I will also say that Joker came out in April, close to April Fool's Day, and the pass is supposed to end in February, which would be Valentine's Day. So there could be something there too. We of course now have the release dates for the next set of amiibos, Dark Samus and Richter, as January 17th. So it's possible a fighter could come out around then. We did tend to get fighters close to the Mii's release for a little while there, so maybe that'll start up again and we'll get a fighter around early January. Who knows? On November 15th, we'll be getting Simon, Chrom, and Incineroar, so yeah, we have amiibos coming pretty soon, and Terry was released a little while before that, so they don't always perfectly coincide. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this video, guys. Like I said, leaks are a little messy right now. I'm not sure which ones to trust, which one of these leakers is right about who the next character is, or if we're not looking at who the next character is at all. If any of these leaks are true and just happening later, or potentially they're false. I really don't know, but there you go. I just laid out all the speculation stuff for you guys. So if you guys have any thoughts or comments about any of the stuff we talked about, leave them below. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.